Youth for Technology Foundation works at the intersection of appropriate technology for education and entrepreneurship. So our clients are young people, typically between the ages of 8 and 25, as well as women, many of whom are the mothers of the youth that we serve, living in low-income and or developing world communities. When you think about appropriate technology, it's anywhere from basic access to the internet, to digital literacy, to mobile and software application development. And then 2.5 years ago, we introduced 3D printing into our curriculum. And so in Nigeria, in particular, we have engineering prototype hubs starting up looking at 3D printing technologies as well as human-centered design for economic development. Futurist Alvin Toffler said that by the 21st century, illiteracy will not just be those people who cannot read and write, but more so those people who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. About 20 years ago, I moved from Nigeria, West Africa, to the United States in pursuit of a college education. One of my greatest challenges was technology incorporated in a classroom setting. About 5 years after graduation, I started working for one of the world's largest software companies. And it was there that my obsession with technology, specifically in the developing world context, was born. When you look at Africa, you see that by 2025, 40 million people will be coming from the continent itself. And a lot of these people are young people. Dignity comes with the employment of these young people. If they don't have jobs, they don't have the dignity that's much afforded to them. And so as a youth organization, it is our role to ensure that young people have the correct skill set so they can transition into employment and or entrepreneurship in an even way. One of the challenges that we've seen is this concept of skills gap. The employers, the education community, as well as the youth themselves, everyone pointing fingers and saying, this group isn't doing the right thing, that group isn't doing the right thing, to really prepare young people for the jobs that they deem most appropriate. We believe the digital component of technology has a huge role to play, in the sense that these young people should be equipped with the skills that they have. They're able to use their digital skills that are transportable and be able to monetize that talent. When you think about emerging and disruptive technologies, we think about technologies that have broad scale, broad economic impact. We think about technologies that can move profit pools from producers to consumers. We think about technologies like 3D printing. Let me talk about Emmanuel for a second. I actually spoke to him this morning. Emmanuel is a fifth-year engineering student at one of the universities in Nigeria. Emmanuel is part of 3D Africa, which is YTF's flagship program around 3D printing. This morning, I talked to Emmanuel and asked him what was new in his world. Was thrilled to hear that he's working on robotic arms, 3D printing robotic arms for the distillery industry. We work with secondary school students as well as university students, again, just to transition from secondary schools into educational opportunities and then into entrepreneurship as well in this particular country, which is Nigeria. We see the potential for 3D printing to be transformative. It gives people not just the ability to learn the computer-aided design skills, but then to monetize their skills in the online marketplace, really transforming the industry. We see employers like Safaricom, shown in this picture in our Kenyan hub, as key to engaging the education sector as well as the entrepreneurship sector. It is necessary for the private sector to be part of this conversation. It is imperative that they come into our classrooms or that the students go into the private sector through simulations. In Kenya also, we're working with MasterCard, and that's one of our classrooms there. And they come in and they teach and mentor our students, and our students really get a better understanding of, MasterCard is actually a technology company, not a financial services company, and what are the skills required, and how are we going to position our students so that they fit into those jobs. Precious on the right is 17 years old. She just graduated from secondary school and is awaiting admission into a Nigerian university. Precious has been learning computer-aided design as well as 3D printing. We've been able to match her up with a local woman entrepreneur. Not only is she being mentored by Miss Maureen, who you saw in an earlier photo, but she's also printing, 3D printing and designing some household consumables that form a part of Maureen's business. Again, we just see this as one of very many ways in which emerging and disruptive technologies can be used. Not only is the technology piece important, but the trust factor between the education community, also between the private sector as well as civil society like ourselves, we see is extremely key. My question to you today is, by 2020, 60% of the jobs out there, we don't know what those look like. But what we do know is that the skill set required, not even 20% of our young people have those skills. What can organizations like Youth for Technology do to ensure that we are rightly placed with these organizations, these young people, and the educational institutions to ensure that our young people are getting the best success possible?